Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Dr. Ben, to the Pre-Chiro podcast, and we're just having meaningful conversations and connecting with people in the profession from around the world to create a clear message for you, the prospective student or incoming chiropractic student, to ease your path, to make your life a little bit clearer and easier. So today we have a chiropractic advocate that we're connecting with, Roberto Monaco. And Roberto, can you introduce yourself and kind of share a little bit about what brought you into this space and really what brought your awareness to chiropractic and helping other chiropractors?
Dr. Ben, thanks so much for having me here. Super excited, first of all. So I want to create a context here why I work with chiropractors, why I shift my mission in life. So origin from Brazil. I grew up in Brazil for the first 25 years of my life. When I came to America 26 years ago, I got a job with the Anthony Robbins companies. Tony Robbins, a famous motivational speaker coach. And when I started my career, I was doing around 400 talks a year promoting Tony Robbins events. So a lot of experience with the speaking in 6 years, 2,000 plus talks. And then I opened up a company, Influenceology, and I was serving 40 different industries. And then one day, one of my clients, Gary Gunderson, calls me up and says, "You got to work with chiropractors." And I'm like, "What is chiropractic? I have no idea what it is." That was literally like 11 years ago, had zero clue. He goes, "Well, he explained to me, and I never did anything with it." And then a month later, a chiropractor out of Houston, Dr. Chris Zano, calls me up and say, "Hey, man, I do these dinners, and why don't you help me, with the speaking part?" So I helped him. He got massive results. And then he started introducing me to chiropractors. But at that time, this is an important part of the story. At that time, I met my wife, and my wife knew that we want to get married, have a family, and she stopped taking birth control pills. And for the first 6 months, her period never went back. And she went to 4 different MDs, no answer. And at that time, I was coaching Zeno. He goes, "Man, you got to take an x-ray." So we did the x-ray in San Diego with Dr. Ryan Hummel. And we figured out the 2 big subluxations, her neck, lower back. And we both start chiropractic care to restore the function of the body. And fast forward 1 year, her period never came back. 2 years, 3 years into chiropractic care, we're both healthy, sleeping better, function better, still no period. And so many nights, my wife goes to bed, literally crying because she thought there's something wrong with her. And 6 Christmas ago, December 24th, I wake up. I was in San Francisco, actually. My mother-in-law lives there, in Marin County. And my wife is sleeping. I'm drinking coffee with my mom, her mom. And my wife wakes up, goes to the bathroom, and starts crazy crying. And I'm like, "What happened, honey? What happened?" And she goes, "I got my period." I'm like, "Are you sure?" She goes, "I'm sure." And the whole family hug. Fast forward 9 months, got pregnant. And then because now my network with chiropractors is so big, everybody was talking about, look, do natural birth. I watched the movie The Business of Being Born. By the way, if you want to watch a Netflix documentary, learn, is awesome. It's called The Business of Being Born, about natural birth. And my wife, a lot of chiropractors have natural birth. And my wife goes, "I want to have a natural birth either." By the way, my wife is not chiropractic. Now, this is an important part because a lot of people, if you consider being a chiropractor, you got to understand that chiropractic is not only about back pain, neck pain. It's very effective. It's way bigger than that. So my wife got chiropractic care throughout the whole pregnancy. She had an amazing pregnancy. And then she goes to labor, 22-hour labor. And when Sophia was born, she was born at 10:16 p.m. in the evening. And the 2 midwives said there's something wrong with her because she's not breathing properly. She's not crying. Baby should be breathing, crying. And she was like, almost there's something stuck in her lungs, right? And they tried a couple things, nothing happened. And by California law, if you have a natural birth, you got to spend 12 hours in a birth center. Then after 12 hours, both mom and baby, they have to be healthy in order to go home. And it was 5 a.m. And the 2 midwives said, "Look, we're going to go to the hospital if she doesn't get better." They attach a monitor to measure her oxygen levels. And I remember, Dr. Ben, I get my phone, 5 a.m., I text Dr. Ryan, my chiropractor, say, hey, bro, explain the story. Is there any way you can come here? And he texted me back, said, I was waiting for the call. He came in 5:30 in the morning, put Sophia down. She's 8 hours old. And felt her atlas. She goes, yeah, she's subluxated. Adjust her once, stop, wait 3 minutes, adjust her again. And he said, she's clear. And just like a movie. When Dr. Ryan grabbed Sophia, gave it to my wife, Sophia went like this, threw up the amniotic fluid that was stuck in her lungs, and she gave the most beautiful, powerful, natural baby cry. I looked to my right, Dr. Ryan Hummel, which is a tall guy, had tears coming down. He said, did you see the power of the innate? And I'm like, holy smoke. I said something else, but you want to keep clean here, right? The podcast. And then he left. And at that day, 10 in the morning, we didn't go to the hospital, back home. Right? And then 2 days later, I had this massive breakthrough. And that's why I'm here talking to you today. So here's the breakthrough that I had, Dr. Ben. When we decided to have a natural birth in San Diego, they recommend us to have a natural birth class. So there's 10 couples, 20 people. On day one of the class was every Wednesday night for 8 weeks for 3 hours. On day one, the instructor asked this question, why are you here? For 20 people. And everybody, using their own words, said the same thing. They said, we want something natural. Everybody said that. We don't want to be in the quote unquote the medical model. We know it's there, but we want something natural. Everybody. And out of 20 people, only one dad, only one mom were being adjusted, which is my family. And then only one baby was adjusted birth, which is my family. And I always, when I tell the story, I tell chiropractors 2 questions. Number one, why do you think that is? Why in a natural birth center where people say they're raising their hands, they go, we want something natural. Why they're not in the chiropractic care? Number one, why is that? Usually I get answers like, well, they don't know about it. Okay. So then the second question is what you specifically are going to do about it. So while I'm not a chiropractor, I'm not a doctor, I have my share of public speaking training experiences. By now, almost 5,000 talks, almost 15,000 hours of coaching. So my goal and my mission or my agenda with chiropractic is just one. I just have one thing. My goal is to make sure every chiropractor student becomes a leader and can lead his or her community towards chiropractic. And the way you do it is through communication. So that's why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm. And you share often, don't speak to share information, speak to lead a revolution.
Can you read this? Can you read the...
Don't speak to inform, speak to transform. Thank you.
Yeah. So the idea is like, we got to show up powerfully, because when you stop and analyze the landscape, like I'm not here to talk about the medical model or pharma, but they have a lot of money, right? And they control the media, they control the pour into people. And as a chiropractor or future chiropractor, most of us, we don't have that budget to compete. We really don't. Billions and billions to compete. So how do we do it? How are we going to compete? We're going to compete through delivering an amazing chiropractic care and through communication. You know, the beautiful part about it, what I feel, look what we're doing right now. I'm in Charleston, you're in California, you've done over 200 interviews from all over the world. People listen to you from all over the world. And now we can use technology and communication to create the impact that we want. So,
You know, before we got on this call this morning, I was posing the question to a number of leaders within the profession of, in the last 20 years, who has put out a high budget commercial for the profession? Do you know anybody? And they talked about the previous president at Life University, Guy Reekman, had put together some commercials in the 90s. That was the last time that they could remember anybody putting, and you talk about we need billions. We really don't need billions. We need a couple tens of thousands with a real clear message to put together a high-level commercial and position it in the right place. You know, I keep coming back to like that army commercial where it's like, be brave, join the army reserve, like give your life a purpose. And I keep thinking to myself, what if we had a commercial out there that was communicating very clearly some of what you just mentioned in your story? And I do want to get into the storytelling aspect of how you influence, how you lead and transform your community. I think it's super relevant to a chiropractor. Just to give you some background information on my project, basically I'm asking new chiropractic students and incoming students, prospective students, to think of themselves as developing their inner state. So innate is this
Yeah.
main chiropractic word.
Yeah.
The state is an acronym for a scientist, thinker, artist, teacher, entrepreneur. And the teacher, the communication that you just delivered there is exemplary of what a professional communicator can. This is important part right here. When
Cool.
you drop little pieces and you
Yep.
pause, the power of conversational pause. I never heard of any of these concepts until I was in chiropractic school and studying online. Like, how do I become a better communicator? I joined the
Yeah.
Toastmasters, what we call the TikTokers, but there's not a lot of structured information that has been created to help you become a professional communicator, which is obviously extremely important. Can you talk about the programs that you've
Oh yeah.
developed
Oh yeah.
yourself?
Oh yeah. So my background, when I never been quote unquote a public speaking guy. I actually was afraid to speak. My first language Portuguese when I was studying high school in Brazil. I look at the map and Brazil is surrounded by Spanish speaking countries. I'm like, I'll never learn English. Right? Why am I gonna learn English? I'm never gonna use it. So I studied Spanish. Now I live here for 26 years. So I struggle with communication. First of all, when I raise my hand, and I'm a student. I am first. I see myself as a student of communication. By now, I developed over 42 classes for chiropractors in communication because I learned when I was working for Tony Robbins. It's almost like I had is a laboratory to experiment because I speaking so three times. Imagine doing a lunch and learn 3 a day for like every day. So you learn. So testing how you open, how you frame, how I close, how I storytell, how I engage, how I pause, eye contact. I could read in a book, right? And they're like, oh, today I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. So with a lot of reps and distinctions and learning, a lot of success, a lot of failure too, I was able to put programs together. So I have two primary things that I do for chiropractors. One, I have a class. It's called Influencing from the Front for Chiropractors, which is probably my best work. It's a 3-day experience. I have hundreds and hundreds of chiropractors from all over the world come to our class. And basically, which is very unique, not only I talk about is a context of group communication. If you're doing talks and classes and workshops, patient rotation. By the way, Dr. Ben, I don't know if you know this, but when I do a lot of speaking chiropractic, and I always ask this question: how many of chiropractors here are doing some type of patient education class? I always ask this question. And on my read, and I have a good sense, a good post because I do a lot, is less than 5% of the profession. So we talk about why putting an ad, the masses, but then we don't educate our own captive audience. Right? It's crazy. For me, it's just crazy. We don't educate them. Less than 5%. For the reasons, there's so many reasons. My training, my expertise, it is on group communication, regardless if you're doing inside talks, if you're doing outside talks, dinner with the doctors, corporate talks, videos, and obviously so many of these concepts that you learn when you do quote unquote public speaking training, pause, eye contact, storytelling is a 100% transferable to one-on-one communication. So I have my events called Influencing from the Front. And the second thing that I do, I have a platform called the Chiro Speaking Club. It's an online training. And I develop over 42 trainings, which is awesome. So yeah, so I keep chiropractors, the ones who have passion for chiropractic, right? I feel like communication and learning new techniques will create a huge impact. I have one of my sayings that I go, when you love speaking, speaking loves you back. And a lot of times, because as a chiropractor, you go to school, you don't learn, quote unquote, to be an effective communicator, then we don't have a good association. And I've seen so many chiropractors that for them, speaking is just like going to the DMV. For those, if you listen to this, a DMV in America here is the Department of a Motor Vehicle. When you have to renew a license and you go, there's big lines. Nobody wants to go to DMV, right? So they have the association, I gotta go there. Nobody wants to speak because they have a bad association. But my goal is not only to help the doctors to use speaking as a leadership tool and as a tool to acquire and retain more patients, but ultimately, my ultimate goal personally is to make sure every doctor loves speaking, because when they love speaking, speaking loves them back, and they love chiropractic, now they become unstoppable. That's the goal.
And yeah, can you kind of just give some insights? You've spent a lot of time around chiropractors. Who are these people? Because they live a great lifestyle. You have fun. You have fun when you're with them. I see you enjoying life, sharing moments and experiences with other chiropractors. What is it about this group of people that is so attractive?
For me, what attracted me to chiropractors, first of all, I have a chiropractic experience. What I love about the chiropractic industry, and I work with 40 different industries, 40 big sample: real estate, real estate, coaching, mortgage, veterinarians, dentists. I still work with other industries. I have not found an industry with a deeper purpose than chiropractors. Now, I have found other professionals in other industries who are very, very much purpose-driven. But I'm talking about collectively as an industry. By far, there's no second place, because I feel, in my experience, the ones I've been exposed to, because for a lot of people, they go to chiropractic school and maybe they didn't have a chiropractic story or nothing happens. They just want to explore, but eventually they get the whole idea. They get the story of chiropractic story. They experience themselves. They start adjusting patients. They get it. And for them, it's not profession, becomes a mission. So I feel like not all chiropractors, but the vast majority, they have this sense of purpose and mission, which I'm super attracted to it. Number one, because I feel that's why I do speaking. Speaking, I feel like I'm called to speak. The goal, pick out, hey, Roberto, that's your plan, that's your assignment. And I like to hang out with people who resonate the same vibe, that have a calling. I love it. So for me, in a personal level, brings me a lot of fulfillment. The second thing, what I really admire about chiropractic is truly they are healers. They're healers. When you start working with a lot of chiropractors, my sample is big. Man, the stories you hear about how many patients went through the... By the way, I'm not here to bash the medical system. I think there's time and place for 100%. But you see how most Americans and other people use the system, and then they struggle, and then they go to chiropractic as the last resort, as the last, okay, I'm gonna try this, and now they experience miracle after miracle after miracle. So why don't we just flip the equation? Why we start here first, right? Give her a bath, and then something that in the event we have this, but to reverse. And I feel like this idea, once you experience, everybody must be in a chiropractic care. If you're not, then just like you're not living your best life possible. You're not maximizing full potential. It's that simple. So everybody must be in a chiropractic care. So that's the part, I think, that for me, while the chiropractic adjustment, helped my wife and my daughter, right? The chiropractic philosophy, how we live our lives now, I would say is as powerful as the adjustment, because, raising kids, they're not vaccinated. They're chiro kids. So the philosophy, understanding the philosophy, and I'm not a chiropractor, right? But like understanding the power creates the body, heals the body, understanding that how the body functions. I'm like, oh, so this now impact the future, how my kids they're growing up. And I see chiropractic kids growing up. And when you see, and if you're a student or considering going to chiropractic school, when you hang out, when you go to events, I recommend to go to a chiropractic event. If you're not chiropractic, you have to go to chiropractic events and see chiropractic kids and try to compare them to regular kids. Man, they're different. I hate to say that, but they're different. They just like, they look in your eyes, they smile, they're connected. they're not. Why they don't have there's like, it's crazy. And in the beginning, I noticed that. Now notice my kids. So it's such a powerful, um, such a powerful methodology, philosophy, art, science, concept, chiropractic that I think and very misunderstood. So I feel like you said before, having a unified message and communicate to the masses. I want to be part of it.
If you could reflect back on growing up in Brazil and just looking at the culture of your community that you grew up in, and knowing and having experienced what you've experienced, being exposed to chiropractic obviously later in life, but what are some of the parallels, or what are some ways that we can really speak in a familiar tone and a familiar voice and a familiar message to that culture, to that community, that helps bring them in this direction, or helps invite them to learn more? Because as you know, there's chiropractic schools in Brazil. There's not
Yeah,
that many. I think there's
yeah,
two.
yeah.
And I'm just curious. I always love considering, how do we really bring this to your culture and your
Yeah.
community that you're so familiar with,
Yeah.
but that is unfamiliar with chiropractic?
I think that's I done one event online to the Brazilian community, chiropractors there. There are subluxation based, principle based chiropractors in Brazil. There are, for sure. I think that because the first quote unquote chiropractic schools in Brazil, they didn't focus much on the philosophy. I feel Brazil is a huge country. To give a context, right? So America will have, let's say, 310 million people, and maybe you have, I don't know, 50,000 chiropractors. Brazil have 230 million people, and you have 1,000 chiropractors, right? So the opportunity is like more than 10x in Brazil. And I feel like the first and second generation of chiropractors, most of them, I think they came thinking more towards the medical model, and it's really hard to try to change the population's perception if the doctors don't think that way. It's just like, because now they're gonna go to the doctor to be like, well, that's not what we do, right? Or that's so. I think that there's no start with the community, start with the doctors. I feel, because it's still, I feel there are few doctors there, but I feel like in my experience, we gotta go up and do this work, the chiropractic, being more the chiropractic philosophy and the pure chiropractic to the doctors, so then you can change the perception. Because even my family, they see the miracles, they see my kids being adjusted. I have hundreds of conversations with my mom. Why are you adjusting Sophia if she's not in pain? Why are you taking a chiropractor? Like hundreds of times. And it's still, I'm not there. I'm not a chiropractor. They still like, they have this, well, I'm not in pain. They still, that they still, a lot of them, the population, they are in a box of the back pain, neck pain paradigm, which is okay to be able to help people because we're very effective. But to break that box, then the profession in Brazil, they gotta get united, have a clear message, and start advocating. So I feel that would be the direction.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Start from within, start from building the profession from the inside out. But I'm more also curious about like the cultural practices, the daily life, the fact that probably a huge percentage of the population goes to church and has a spiritual practice, has a religious practice. How can we relate the practice of going to a chiropractor to these values that these cultures, obviously there's multiple subcultures within a population of 230 million people, but as a whole, I still am always curious of like, if we were creating a connection, a bridge to this population with chiropractic, what are some areas that we can get in? Where can we like meet them at?
I would say, man, I mean, there's a lot of faith in Brazil. You know what I mean? A lot of people go to church in Brazil, and I would say, like the the God makes no mistakes, and the way He creates you. You know what I mean? I'll connect me personally. I'll connect God's message on creation to the universal intelligence, innate intelligence, how you create your body, how your body is designed to to heal itself. And our job is not to quote unquote fix people, it's to remove the interference. So the body that God, the temple that God created, can operate and heal and function at the highest level possible. I mean, that would be my message if I'm in a church speaking. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of chiropractors we actually have one, I believe Dr. Vonay, I believe he does a lot of talks in Brazil in churches. And I think that's the angle. I think sometimes cultural conditioning in Brazil for many years, the medical model, medical doctor, if you're a doctor, like the white coat, the doctor, and anything else doesn't count. So I think that part of it is being able to go and teach and advocate and tell our story. Right? We need people who are willing to go in front of other people and communicate and advocate. And my goal is to help them, not in Brazil here, only in Brazil, but everywhere. So
Awesome. So you've put together these programs for chiropractors. One of them is available online. Do you have students that are engaging with your materials? I'm curious.
I have students too. I have students. I have at the last event I did in Atlanta, I had 4 students actually. It was super awesome. Yeah, because a lot of students, they come in, and what happened is I always tell this to everybody: there's no such thing as shortcut in life, right? There's no shortcuts. You've done 200 of these interviews meant to get traction. You gotta do it. Gotta do the reps. But if there were to be one shortcut, I'm not saying there is, but if there were to be one, would be speaking. Let me tell why. 2 reasons. Number one, a lot of people don't want to do it. So this is a cuts are all right. A lot of people are not doing it. And the ones who want to do it, sometimes they are natural speakers. And I just wrote an article the other day about being a natural speaker, because a lot of people who are natural speakers, they'd be like, well, I'm a natural. Guess what? I don't need training. All right? I'm not a natural speaker at all. I had to train, still train. So not only if you raise your hand and say, yeah, I want to lead. Number 2, I keep working on my skill set. Then, I mean, is wide open for anybody. As a student, I always tell people, say, well, I'm not gonna be speaking until I graduated. That's the biggest lie. You can have a podcast, you can speak at campus, you can run a club, you can do live videos, you can start everything that you learn in your class. You can record videos, to build up the reps. So you have a lot of opportunities to speak, right? And you can even, if you're a student and you you live by a chiropractor, or you go to school by a chiropractor, raise their hand and say, hey, I do a lecture. If you're not doing a lecture in the office, let me do it. I'll do it. I do an outside talk for you. Raise your hand and do it. So there's a lot of opportunity. That's what I love about speaking, is if you have the desire and the drive, one. Number 2, you keep working your skill set, then is literally wide open. You can take as far as you want to take. I love it.
Awesome. I love it too. Thank you.
Yeah.
If
Go ahead.
you're speaking to a high school or a college student who is really trying to work on their self-confidence, and they're really trying to work on even just communicating one-to-one, and encouraging them to communicate one-to-many, that there's different lessons to be learned in both experiences about themselves. How would you do that? How would you really just invite somebody who's never thought about them having enough value to share, or them having something to give to their high school campus or their college campus, and really share with others around their community, or chiropractors starting their own practice, and
So I'll tell this. I feel like everybody has a story, right? And what's powerful, a lot of times, sometimes you feel like our story is not worth it, or we're not worthy of sharing. And a lot of times what I realized that because everybody has a story, it goes through ups and downs, challenges, and we overcome them. And every time you overcome a challenge, there's lessons to learn. And these lessons is what's the most important thing, the lessons of the story, to be able to package them and share to a group of one or a group of many. When people, quote unquote, hire you to speak or invite you to speak, they're not asking you to, quote unquote, to read a book and give a summary. That's not what it is. They're asking to give you insight, and this insight comes from just like health is an inside-out communication. Health is an inside-out game. Communication is an inside-out game too. That's what I mean. Like health, above, down, inside out. Communication, above, down, inside out. That means like instead of looking. By the way, I have books, right? I have books here. I'm always studying books, reading books, but I read it and then I'm like, okay, how I get this information here, and I go internally. How do I process it? Do I have experiences? And I know that the more internal, inside out, meaning my stories, my experiences share, the more attractive my message is going to be, because number one, I'm emotional connected to the stories. Number two is new and fresh because they haven't heard it, right? So as far as content development, you think in terms of your lessons, number one. Number two is to have the confidence that is to always make sure your topic is addressing some of the problems or challenges of your audience. So for example, if you say, man, I wanna go and speak to campus.
Or specifically, I want to speak to my parents who have doubts about me becoming a chiropractor, me going to chiropractic school. Like they either don't have experience with it and they want me to be a doctor, and
Yeah,
I'm telling them I'm going to become a chiropractor, and I have to build up this courage to communicate the value that I see in going this direction
I
instead of
love it.
this.
So the way I would do it, I would ask. I'll do like the way I would do it. I would ask a lot of questions instead of like, quote unquote, fighting. Ask questions like, look, do you feel who first is like owning your material, like why you want to become a chiropractor, and become super clear, like becomes why you want to become a chiropractor, right? First thing. And number two, once you own the material, instead of being confrontational, ask questions. You know what I mean? Do you think the body's intelligence? Do you feel like the body has the capacity to heal itself? What happens when you have interference? What do you think chiropractic does? Right? I mean, literally just asking the question, why do you feel I want to be a chiropractor? No, you don't be a chiropractor. Well, tell me, what do you think chiropractic does? What do you think it does? And let your parents tell you. They'll be like, well, that is not what they do, and you educate them. Just ask them, why do you think a chiropractor does? Right? So I feel like me personally, and I know you too, Dr. Ben, when you go to behind the scenes, there's a lot of chiropractors, man. They're like, so many are super fulfilled, successful. They hang out together. They raise the family chiropractic lifestyle. So it's a beautiful thing. You're not going to find, if you're a student and you're considering this profession, you're not going to find a more mission-driven profession than chiropractic. It's hard to find.
It is hard to find, and
Yeah.
we look around the communities of people that we care about, and a lot of our people that we grew up with are having a really difficult time because they don't have that purpose.
Yeah.
And I have a passion to help people find their purpose. Like that's
Yeah.
just something that I found by my own pursuits, and I feel so like it's a gift that it takes away so much of the distractions of life so that you can become clear. Is this helping feed my purpose, or is this a distraction from my purpose?
Yeah.
If life becomes that simple where you're asking one question, and you have an internal compass, that I feel like that's going to help people move through life with happiness and become more fulfilled, right? Because so much of life is about joy and fulfillment, and if you don't have that purpose, like you said, chiropractic is hard to find a profession that has more purpose, more of a mission than chiropractic. So thank you for that message.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to encourage the students here, or if you're considering to go to chiropractic school, I'm sure Dr. Ben has a big network of chiropractors on purpose. I'm sure. Go spend a couple days with them. What I found that a successful, and I hate to say the word successful because success means different different things to different people. I'm talking a chiropractor who's on fire about chiropractic, who had this good practice, is helping a lot of people, who's passionate about chiropractic, who feels chiropractic, being a chiropractor is his or her purpose. Reach out the person, and I'll tell you, they would say, because one of the things that I noticed, chiropractors with purpose, they're proud. They say, how many people sent to school? You know what I mean? Like, for real, they were like, I sent 20, I sent 50, you know, like, because why? Because they love it and they want to make sure. So a lot, maybe some of you be thinking, well, Roberto, I'm kind of thinking about going to traditional medicine or chiropractic school. I don't know. I feel awkward reaching out to someone. Don't. The good chiropractors, they'll be ecstatic. They'll be like, come on board. Why? Because they know the profession needs amazing, purposeful, driven professional. So they're gonna, if you're curious about it, I think it's a great start. If you get a good office, a good mentor, just to see. Because when I work on help chiropractors tell the story, that theme of like, I went and I saw doctor practice. I went for a day and I saw a doctor lecture, and that was the catalyst that inspired them to school. So if you're thinking about it, maybe reach out to a chiropractor, local chiropractor. Dr. Ben can guide you to some of his network. But I'll tell you, I think it's a great step towards you to make a decision. You don't have to commit fully, but what we're gonna see, what you're gonna find in a good chiropractic office is not what you're gonna find in a traditional doctor office. You're gonna find life. You're gonna find happiness. You're gonna find energy. You're gonna find healing. You're gonna find hope. You're gonna find possibility, and it's just different.
Mm-hmm. And so much of this moment of the person watching this conversation between me and you is them creating their story. I mean, the story is unfolding right
now. Bingo. All right, bingo.
And what's funny is we have a listener who just asked a question. He just I don't know what BLS is, Benison. Can you clarify that? But he just tuned in and he said, so what salary did you earn right after graduation? I'm kind of being discouraged by what I see on BLS. And I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what BLS.
But that question is one of the most common questions, to be honest with you, in high school and college students is like, how much earning potential do I have?
Right? So that's a good question. So I'll tell you this. I work with 40 industries. You're gonna find in every industry, you're gonna find people who make a ton of money, and I make a lot of money. I've seen chiropractors, multi-millionaires have the life. That's an amazing lifestyle, truly amazing lifestyle. Several practices, still practicing, or one practice doing really well financially. I see some chiropractors like closing doors because they cannot pay the bills. But I see that happens in coaches too, right? You see, I'm in the coaching business. You see coaches, doing really well. Other ones close the doors. So it's kind of like, I'll not base that as, because that's your personal. Now, if you're not passionate about it, chiropractic, if you don't understand chiropractic, if it doesn't, then if you don't have passion for something, doesn't matter if chiropractic or something else, right? You won't be successful. What I do find in chiropractic, the doctors who do better, they have this fight on them. What I mean by that is they have this desire, truly. They're not just like, okay, I'm gonna go in, adjust today. No, they have the desire truly, like, to create this huge impact. For them is they're really, if you sit down one-on-one and a conversation is not gonna go anywhere. I said, dude, tell me from your heart of hearts how you really want to do it. He goes, man, I just want to change lives. And the core of the core of the core. And because they come from that intention, money follows value. When you change someone's life, money follows that. So I seen the potential is like amazing, truly amazing. And you see people right after school, if they have the right coaching, they do extremely well. Right?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
yesterday I had a new graduate on here. He's 6 months out. Benison, listener, if you want to go back to yesterday's interview with a brand new graduate who throughout school was doing these lives, like Roberto has been talking about, these opportunities to communicate and practice your speaking
Yeah.
skills help attract people to you because you're just sharing your experiences. So this guy, he dedicated himself to teaching, teaching, teaching. He was the head of multiple clubs. He was putting out material on social media all the time. And he said in his first 6 months, he's averaging between 50 and 80 new clients a month. Or, yeah, 50 and 80 new
That's just
clients a
amazing.
month.
That's amazing.
And I don't need to do the math. I know
Yeah.
for a fact. I know for a fact he could pay off the cost of his education within a year or 2 years if he continues to average 50 to 80 new
Yeah.
patients a month. So that
Yeah.
blew my mind when I heard that. He's
Yeah.
doing it through TikTok and Instagram. He
Yeah.
makes little videos just showing a day in his life, adjusting people, helping change lives, and he's just, I mean, he's saying that you have to do the work. Like Roberto said, there's no shortcuts.
There's no
He's
shortcut.
on these direct messages, these DMs, asking people about themselves, like taking an interest in his viewers. So he looks at who's engaged with his material, he
Yeah.
reaches out to them personally, and he builds that connection
Yeah.
right there. If they're local, boom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Roberto, I just reached out to you. You never met me until this morning,
Yeah.
but you were willing and open to come share
Yeah.
because the message that I shared with you was, hey, I have a purpose of who I'm trying to help, and I would love to have you on to help me help them.
Yeah.
And that's how this happens. And
Yeah.
it's happened that consistently for me
Yeah.
with some of the best, most busiest people in the world. I mean, you're super busy, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy busy. Crazy busy. But then like I felt the sincerity, your purpose. I'm like, of course I want to share. And I feel like the one more thing that I think is important for those considering become a chiropractors. If your mindset is more of I want a job, it's kind of like, and this is zero judgment. But mindset's more like, man, my not only my background, my programming, my upbringing, and I want to just have a stable job. Why you can find that in chiropractic through an associate role, right? You can find being an associate, and some associates, make 100, 150, 200,000. That's I seen it. But I feel like when you talk, we answer your question here, Benson. If you want to like really blow up in terms of like impact and finances, then you gotta build up your entrepreneur muscle. It's like you have to, like you have to. I felt like in my perspective, I don't know you, Dr. Ben, but in my perspective, the chiropractors who create a bigger impact and financially, usually they have that entrepreneur muscle. Maybe they didn't have in the beginning. I didn't have it. I worked in a bank for many years in Brazil. I had an employee mindset. I have my company now since 2008, right? So I developed that muscle. I didn't have it. So you can develop, but you have to just become aware that if you want to really grow and expand, that's a muscle that you have to develop. Thoughts on it?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And you're exactly right. There's many students that are encouraged to become associates, and Benison is telling me here he's thinking of being an associate when he graduates,
Yeah.
wonder if he can get compensated enough while passionately doing his career. And it's like the money can't be the motivator, but it has to be that byproduct of you providing a valuable service to
Yeah.
somebody else and then another person and another person. I mean, he's asking, is your practice in
Yeah.
Brazil?
Ben,
Benison,
so I don't.
he's
I'm not a
actually
doctor. Thank
he's
you so much. Thank you so much. I'll invite you, Benison, just to come and check it out. But
yeah.
unfortunately, I'm not a doctor. I'm a chiropractic advocate, so I provide communication and speaking training for doctors. But we know chiropractors in Brazil. There, if you're in Brazil,
Hmm.
but I'm not in Brazil. Yeah, I'm here in South Carolina.
Okay, as we wrap up here, Roberto, can you kind of shape the vision of where you're taking this? Because I believe right now you're working exclusively with people who seek you out, who have to find you, and who take the time and invest the energy to go to one of your seminars, or who get invited by maybe one of their mentors to attend one of your seminars. It's not readily available. I would venture to say that 90+% of chiropractic students worldwide are not familiar with your work, and yet it's
Yeah.
so relevant and it's so important. How can we make this almost a well, I won't
Oh, I
interject
love it.
my
I love
vision,
it. I
but
love it. So I do. So so we tell my vision. So I do. Thanks for sharing that. So I've been working chiropractors, like I said before, 11, 12 years or so. And so far I've been doing, so my events, I do 3, 4 events a year on my own. I travel all over doing talks. I have an online platform. And I think when it comes to chiropractic students, I had my first event this year where Life invited me to do a 1-day training for Life students. I did. Last year, I did a training for the Sherman College. So slowly I'm getting there. Was not my focus before because I was trying to read the chiropractic profession, like, okay, where do I go first? But I think the vision for the students, I'm going to, and we can talk about more offline. You can give some guidance, maybe create one of an introduction course and make super affordable for chiropractors. Because I know when you go into school, you don't have income, you're hustling to pay your bills. I totally get it. So there's something more affordable for students. I do have a YouTube channel called the Chiro Speaking Company, and you have free content there too. Facebook, LinkedIn. So I do offer, and if you go to chirospeaking.com, I do have some awesome, every week I publish articles, write emails, truly educational. And I think that is a free way in the beginning to help out students to get involved, for sure.
absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's gonna raise the baseline commitment that students have to work on their communication, to work on the way that they relate to other people, and I think that that's truly valuable. I wish that you were more in my mind earlier in my education. I did still participate. I did still engage, and when I got out of school, I did start giving talks immediately in my practice. But it's not as though I had any formal, structured, professional level training. And I did have structured professional level training with my adjusting skills
That's awesome.
and the depth of the sciences, but not with the communication. I mean, I used to be a club promoter. I walk up to people on the street and just hand them flyers and start connecting with them, like, hey, come to our party. And I think that was actually a really great training for me
For
to get
sure.
comfortable, just relating to people that I never met before. And that's honestly how I built my practice. When I opened my doors, I would just go up to people on the street and, connect with them and tell them that where I was and who I was. And that's how it grew. So, it's all communication, verbal and nonverbal. So
For
anyway,
sure.
thank you for providing some strategies and any final message before we sign off.
Well, I think the final message is for our listeners here. Number one, if you are debating to going to chiropractic school, go and shadow a chiropractor, a good chiropractor. And if it's not, when you show up at the office, if that person is not on fire, find someone, because you can go shadow a chiropractor and that person might not be on fire about chiropractic. They'll be like, man, find someone who is in your town and go shadow for sure. Spend a day or two, ask a lot of questions. Number two, there's a lot of possibility for you. I feel like this whole pandemic, the last 2 years, 2.5 years, has opened up the mind about other ways of being healthy and the importance of being healthy. And a lot of our people in our network have seen chiropractic expand, clinics expand because of that. So I do feel moving forward in the future, there's going to be more need for chiropractors. I was talking to a leader in chiropractic, and he said it's really hard to recruit chiropractors right now. If you have a clinic and you want to have an associate, I mean, it's hard. Why? Because the demand is so high, and then the schools are not pumping enough. So I think there's a massive opportunity. I'm 51, 52. I thought about it, going back to chiropractic school. Some people are like, should be a chiropractor, bro. And I'm like, I thought about it, but this time in my career, I think God put me here just to help people with communication. So that's what I'm gonna go for. But I definitely encourage you to follow, if you have that seed in your heart, to follow that step.